In today's video, I am going to ramble about the gig economy. And for those who might go, what is the gig economy? It's Instacart, it's Shipt, it's Walmart Spark, Lyft, Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, and a plethora of other apps. And I want to just talk about random things. I've been seeing videos of people talking about how people are tipping less ever since the war started. People are saying, in different videos, even on Reddit and other sites, how they're going to quit because of gas prices. People are saying, just all kinds of stuff about the gig economy. So let me talk about this. I will say this, I have seen a lot of gig collapse videos coming through my feed where people are saying that they think that basically, the high time is over. That 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, that money is not the same as it is now. But it's kind of like, it depends on the person, because there are people, like if you guys like to watch gig videos, there are people, not where I live, but there are people making $2,000 a week doing Instacart primarily and other apps. Now, and in a different market, there could be someone doing, Uber driver and some other apps. And, so some people are doing very well. While, I don't know if most people are doing well, but I would say this, that I do agree that I think the gig economy I think the heyday is over. I think that if you do not cherry pick, or you could say get lucky, or if you do not deliver in a great area where people can afford to issue a good tip, I just think that you're wasting your time. I have talked to people about this. We'll say like online, like Reddit. A lot of people like to claim that, wealthy people do not tip. And I vehemently disagree, because I have only ever worked in wealthy areas, and they tip, trust me. I've had a few $300 tips, and let's just be real, like I'm a regular person. You listening to the video most likely are a regular person as far as income goes. You're not going to place an order on Instacart, spend $1,500, and then really tip your driver or your shopper $300. But there are people who can afford to place those orders and actually tip. So I always defend wealthier areas. I'm not saying that they're better people. It doesn't matter to me how they got their money. I just want to get a good tip. I don't want to work hard. The F? Think about this. Now, I want to change some people's perspectives right now. Well, I will say this. I will just say my opinion. You can change it if you want. Why would I want to work hard? Hard work is not rewarded. In gig work, all it takes is one order and you can make an entire day. I've had where I made $300 in one order. I'm not even BSing. It's happened to me 3 times. And the order that paid me $300, one of them was a lot of work, but it was worth it. We're talking about $300. One time I delivered an order with 4 items in it. It took me less than 1 hour, 4 bottles of champagne, and I made $300. That's how I'm trying to work. So that's why I always vouch for the wealthy areas. I've never even tried poor areas, to be honest. But I just know they're not gonna tip more. It doesn't make any sense. If I'm broke and struggling, I'm gonna do what a lot of people do, is tip $2, $3, if you even tip at all. So, I don't know. If you wanna argue in the comments about how you went to this mansion or blah, 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 and they gave you a $3 tip. But another thing to keep in mind is that you never know who was the person who ordered out of that house. It could be like a kid. So, I don't know. But the gig economy, unless, like I said, unless you know how to cherry pick, depending on what app you're using, you have your regulars. Now, maybe if you do Uber and Lyft, if you know how to recruit people to become your, what do you call that? Like your own personal clients. I just think over time that it's just going to be a job like where the thing is, when it first started out, I would actually argue that the gig economy, like, let's say like in something like Instacart where you're shopping for people, that's supposed to be like a luxury service, right? And that's my opinion. When everybody is able to just do something, it lowers the value. Like I have never, well, actually, I was about to lie. I recently actually did place an Instacart order for the first time a couple months ago. But other than that, I've never placed an Instacart order. And I probably wouldn't do it unless it was like an emergency or something. I mean, since I am able-bodied to get my own groceries, I would just do that. But also, I'm not gonna lie, but the thing is, I wouldn't order like $300 of groceries from this store and then put a $5 tip. Like I wouldn't do that. But a lot of people, they do that, right? Because they're thinking, I just paid Instacart, a $7.99. And also they could have gotten free delivery. So most likely most of the people ordering paid $0 to $7.99 for a service or delivery fee. And then they give you a bad tip. If you're a gig worker listening to this video, even a $10 tip, I'm sorry, is a bad tip. It's not a good tip. Like if you order just a couple of things in the stores right by your house, it's okay. However, most orders on Instacart don't look like that. Why would you ever shop for somebody, say for example, they live 8 miles away from, Target, and they ordered 40 items and they gave you a $10 tip, and then Instacart pays you about $5. So now you're looking at a $15 order. That's how much it's gonna pay the shopper. And you have 40 items in it. And then you gotta drive to their house. There's gonna be out of stock items. You gotta text this, that. Hopefully you don't get, just like $15 for 40 items. That's most likely gonna take you an hour and a half. So like, do you wanna work for $15 for an hour and a half? Even if it was $20, it's still gonna be about an hour and a half. So you're working below minimum wage. Like, think about that. Like, it's just like, the gig economy is just done because most people, let's just be honest, myself included, we are average people. And we do not have a lot of money to be, like let's say, for example, you ordered every once in a blue moon, just a few times a year, then you can probably put a good tip if you feel inclined. But you got some people, they order, these services, DoorDash every meal or, a few times a week. They even if you were like, I make $60,000 a year, but that's not what you took home. And let's face it, a lot of people are living out of their means. They shouldn't be ordering a couple times a week, but they do it anyways. And they just put a couple dollars. I just think at the end of the day, we just gotta be real. Most of us are regular, average people who make average to below average money. And, when it comes to the gig worker, they do deserve to get a good tip. The thing is, if we removed all of the people that do not tip good, there'd barely be any orders. And then these apps would go out of business. That's just the honest truth. But I do believe that these services are luxury services. It's just that most people, I don't even know what number I would throw out, but when I say most, I am serious about most. They cannot afford these services. That's why they put low tips. A lot of these people, they order nonstop all the time, and they, it wouldn't make sense to them. Like, I can't, they probably would say, I can't put a $10 tip every order. I order like 8 times a week. That'd be $80. But if I put like $3, then it'll be what, $24, you know? But, you know, you guys, if you guys are still listening, make sure that you guys have liked this video and that you hit the notification bell. But in a few years, or at some point, once they figured out how to deliver the food with robots and make it more efficient, sometime probably in the next 5 to 10 years, it's gonna change. And then all the people that do gig work, I don't know where you guys are gonna work, because, you know, America is just changing a lot. And I personally think not for the better.